All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another monthly pulse. Glad you could join us. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. So I'll cut right to the chase. Let me start with some stats on what the network has been up to. So we have about 7,000 nodes online right now. We average about 120,000, to give you specific, 120,292 transactions per day. Yeah, and another major update, the Block Explorer 2.0 is live. In case you haven't seen it, we'll share the link for it in the monthly pulse chat right now. And also, there's been an update to the roadmap. So, the link for it has already been shared in the announcement. But once again, we'll put it in the monthly pulse chat so that you can go through it and get an idea of what is coming up next and what is the timeline for the set development. I'll now request. Also, one more thing is on the ambassador program, the major update. We have received the submissions for those who have been selected, and we are revisiting the program, and we will get back to you guys about the same. So just stay tuned for an update on that. So yeah, Jason, if you would like to take it forward, thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk about before we talk about the projects that the team are working on, I want to address the specific problems that people are encountering in the network. And we'll be able to talk about how each project that the team is working on will impact these specific problems. So first, I want to talk about deposits not counting. It's something that we actually hear about quite often. Hey, I made deposit, I have a transaction, but I'm not getting points for it. On top of that, it's also the most highly created GitHub issue topic for tickets that are created. So I just want to say, one, we did put out an update and an announcement saying that we're working on the problem. He's going to talk about the projects he's working on to resolve it. But basically, I think that, yes, we understand your deposits are not counting toward points. The throughput of deposits are so high that our server is not handling it very well, and we're working on resolving that and improving that problem. We're also looking on adding alerting mechanisms, so if this ever happens again, we'll be alerted right away. But you can be assured if your transaction for your deposit was mined on a block that is on the main blockchain, your deposit will still be counted. So don't worry about it if it's not counting right now. As soon as we fix the issue, we're working through fixing these right now. So I'll let Hugh talk about that a little bit more, what he's working on to fix it. Obviously, a lot of people are also talking about syncing speed. Yes, we know syncing speed is slow. This is actually caused by two different issues. In one issue, we're actually seeing as our ad block times are fairly high, and we're working on optimizations for those. So we are working on this. We just need to optimize our ad block time as well as some of our syncing protocol. There's a project on our roadmap you'll be able to see. And just as a reminder, you can look at our roadmap at any time to see what the team is working on. So if you have any questions about when something will be completed or what we're working on, you should refer to the roadmap that's on our website. The other major project is we're working on syncing snapshots. So you could download a compressed version of the blockchain without having to sync it from your peers to get relatively up to date, and then you can sync from there. That project is nearing completion and will solve a lot of the syncing speed issues that people are facing until we can make further optimizations. So hopefully that project will be finished soon and it'll be shipped and people can take advantage of our syncing snapshots. Another thing I want to point out that users have complained about is that our database is very large. And I think last time I checked, it was about 28 gigs for about 70,000 blocks. We know this is a problem, but we're not going to address this in the interim. We're sorry about it, but we're trying to focus on other issues right now. But it is something that we're keeping an eye on. Obviously, we don't want to have a database that is that large, and we have very, very clear ideas about how to resolve this so that we can have a bit of a smaller database footprint. One of those is a prune command to prune forked blocks. The other is we store a transaction for every block that contains that transaction for performance reasons. So we're double storing a lot of transactions. That's also a reason that our database is quite large. There's just a bunch of different issues. We know what they are, but we're not going to work on storage size at this moment. But rest assured, we do know it's an issue. I would say, obviously, the biggest problem that people are facing are balance related. Hey, my balance is changing. My balance is doing weird things. This is actually caused by the biggest issue that we're working on right now, which is forking and block and transaction propagation time. So just to give you a little primer, forking, the biggest reason forking occurs is when you cannot propagate your blocks fast enough across your network. So miners are mining their own chains because they don't know a newer block has come in and they should stop mining their chain. So we actually have a pretty large, one of the major projects right now, which Derek will speak about, is our Gossip project. And the big point here is we're trying to improve our block and transaction propagation time to alleviate this. There's also actually a lot of other projects that are coming to alleviate this, but this is the biggest thing that we're looking to solve right now is the forking problem. And to fix the forking problem, we have to fix the propagation time. So once we get to the projects, look forward to Derek speaking about our gossiping. So these are all of the major problems that we're working on right now. Deposits not counting, syncing speed. We know that storage size isn't good right now, but we're not going to work on that. And of course, we have balance issues created by forking and propagation. So now let's switch over to our projects, and I'm going to let each person talk individually about the projects they're working on and how that pertains to fixing these issues. So first, let's hear from Hugh, who is working on resolving deposits not counting.
Thanks. So as Jason mentioned, a lot of people have reported their deposits not counting, and we are confident that we've identified the source of that issue. That because of the way that we were processing deposits, they would occasionally be processed out of order. So a deposit might be marked as not being on the main chain when it in fact was. So we've put in a fix to try to prevent that kind of out of order processing, and the next steps are near at hand, which are to fix the issues introduced into the data from those out of order processing events, and then refresh points. So we have a resolution close for those deposit issues, and now turn it over to Matt.
I think Matt's going to talk about our wallet 2.0 or 1.0. I think we can't hear you, Matt, so maybe I assume you're figuring out your microphone. We will come back to you. Let's hear from Derek about gossip and how this will affect propagation.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason. So Daniel and I have been working on reworking our propagation model for blocks and transactions. We talked a bit about this in our last monthly pulse, so I'll give you an update on what's changed since then. We both finished up our specs for the different propagation models, and we're currently working on putting up PRs for the individual messages, the new messages we'll need to make the propagation work. And then as far as like a rough timeline of what our plans are there, on the block propagation side, I'm gonna make all the messages first, merge those in, then write handlers that implement the logic for what to do with messages. So like if you get a new block or if you get a new hash, whether it's a fetch it, not fetch it, and how it all should work. Then I'll test it out locally and add a config flag so that it's possible to do local testing without affecting the existing code. And then after that, I will increase the network version and then push out the new propagation model and the old propagation model side by side. So it'll detect whether peers are on the new network version or the old network version, and then use the propagation model that corresponds to that network version. And this will avoid the need for basically a hard fork, or for people to have to update to the new version of Ironfish immediately in order to use the new propagation model. And then I'll give the community a heads up, probably at the minimum a week of time before we would do any sort of hard fork or required version update. And then at that point, after that week or whenever our next release is, we delete the code for the old propagation model and be fully on the new model. So we're also working on some metrics around better tracking the size of our network, how our network is structured, and how long it takes transactions to get around the network. We have a bit of info around blocks right now, but we'd like some more detail there. We're probably going to try to get somebody else to help work on these projects, because we're trying to focus, Daniel and I are trying to focus on just implementing the logic of the new propagation model for now. Yeah, if anybody's interested at some point in potentially reading a blog post or sitting on a talk on kind of the model and comparison to Bitcoin and Ethereum, I've been thinking about doing some sort of talk or blog post if anybody's interested. So yeah, please let us know if that's something that might be fun or interesting for you. Let's see. That's it for me. Let me see if Matt, is your mic working now? Darn, I still can't hear you. Let's go on to Jason. Do you want to talk about the syncing snapshot stuff?
Yeah. So I mentioned that syncing is slow, and there's a feature that blockchains often implement, which is syncing snapshots. So what is syncing snapshots? Syncing snapshots is instead of syncing through the peer-to-peer protocol, what if you could get a relatively trustworthy source to download the chain from, and then you'll basically import that and then start syncing from there. So what we're doing is building a new snapshot import system, and from there we're also giving users the tools to author their own snapshots and upload those somewhere, so users in their community can also choose that snapshot. So Ironfish will obviously host its own snapshot that will update periodically at some cadence, but we're also going to allow users to upload their own snapshots and then import those using the built-in Ironfish CLI. And if you're a crypto or blockchain expert, you might also say to yourself, hey, some blockchains have consensus-based snapshots where you don't have to trust the source. You can use the consensus model itself to decide if you trust the snapshot. That is something we're considering down the road, but right now we're just trying to alleviate the current issue of syncing speed. So we're going to be doing a trustful solution for now, and hopefully a less trustful solution later that is consensus based. So now I'm going to pass it on to Hugh, which is going to talk about some of the mining pool improvements we've made.
Yeah, so if you follow the mining pool alerts channel, you may have noticed some of those changes already. So we've made some changes to kind of improve visibility into the mining pool. And so the pool is outputting status information at regular intervals. And in the next release, there will be a CLI command available so that anyone mining in the pool will be able to get status information about the miners that they have connected. So be on the lookout for that in the next release. And I think
Nice.
we can try Matt one more time.
Yeah, if Matt is can't do it, then I think Rohan should be able to give a bit of an update as well.
Yeah, I can talk about our project. So Matt and I have been working pretty closely together. We've been refactoring and rebuilding a lot of parts of the wallet and our account system. So if you looked in Discord and some of our GitHub issues, you probably know that some of the slowest parts of our code base are, computing balances for an account or sending transactions. The reason this occurs is we do a lot of decryption on the fly. So Matt and I have been rewriting it to cache a lot of information and make it easier to maintain multiple accounts. So for example, if you have one active account and one inactive account, it will take a really long time to do anything on the inactive account because all the data kind of lives in one place. So we've done some benchmarking on a couple of 100,000 transactions, and some of these balance checks have gone from 10 minutes down to 3 or 4 seconds. So these are some improvements we're really excited to ship out in the next couple of weeks. So look out for that, and we'll be posting more updates in the upcoming releases.
Yeah, thanks for that. Now, I think, so just to be clear, yeah, we've talked about various projects that are going to impact the problems that we've discussed are impacting our users. And so, these are the developers here. They're all in the chat. Everybody is working day in and day out to alleviate these problems. I know they can take some time to complete, but we're trying to make sure that they get fixed the right way and the performant way so we continue to expand the coin and to continue to work on it in the future so we can make more improvements and expansions without getting stuck with technical debt in the future. So I think all the team's working really hard, and we have a really great team working on these issues. So please just be patient with us while we kind of work on these issues. And if you were here during the phase 1 initial launch, you'll know that these issues are transient and they're temporary, and that when we work through them, the coin does work better and it works faster. Because if you were there during the phase 1 launch, you would remember that our entire syncer actually stopped working after a week. So we're obviously in much better shape than we are then, but we definitely have improvements to make. So one thing I actually want to talk about now is recognize a little bit of community contributions. So obviously we're running our own pool, but I think I've personally found about 4 to 5 other pools in the community that are allowing people to join them. And we think that's incredible. That's really cool. Obviously, we're going to keep hosting and running our own pool, which I think we have about 2,000 to 3,000 miners at any given time connected. We never intend for our pool to be like the main pool. We're doing that because we're trying to bootstrap the community of people who run pools. And likewise, we were just told by another pool runner, 6block, that they're going to launch a pool. So we think these types of projects are very cool, and we want to encourage them as much as possible. So if you ever have a project you want to tell us about, we're more than happy to speak to you and see kind of what you're doing and see if there's anything we can do to advise you on how to run that project or how to develop it, or if we can build things that'll obviously help. And in that vein, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we actually launched our fish improvement proposal. And I would say that's been going very well. In the past 2 weeks, we already have 3 fish improvement proposals, which, if you actually don't know what this is, so anyone in the community can create a fish improvement proposal. We call them FIPs. And it's a proposal for the community member to make an improvement to Ironfish itself, which the team will comment on and provide advice for how they can approach it and make it fit into our developer vision. So I think I just really like to see those FIPs come through. It helps make sure that the code that ultimately comes through is fits in our vision and doesn't stomp on our toes. So we're really excited to be commenting on these FIPs and see that great contributions coming from our community and the open source community. And likewise, many of you are using the new deposit all command, and that is a big contribution from WD021, which is a community member, and that was not made by the official developer team. So that's one huge example of where a third-party open source contributor contributes a core tool that is then widely used by the community. So I definitely want to thank WDO21 for that. That's huge. We obviously have a lot of code review we're working through right now. So we're getting to that. So if we take some time to code review your open source contribution, just give us like a moment. And then also, if you do open source contribute, try to submit a FIP first if you think it's a major contribution that needs to be reviewed. I also want to recognize that our ambassadors, like often day to day, I see a lot of yellow names, a lot of basically ambassadors who are helping out by commenting in the community, answering questions. I mean, you are absolutely pivotal to the success, so thank you very much for that. I think the last thing that I want to mention is obviously that we are hiring 2 positions specifically. We're really looking for engineers, specifically front-end engineer. We just launched our new Block Explorer, as we said. That's a huge front-end project. So we're looking for more front-end engineers to build a desktop wallet app. And on top of that, we are also hiring marketing. So if you feel that you are a great marketing candidate, please just message us and send us your resume. You can find our open positions on our website. So I think that's all we have for this update, unless anyone else has anything they want to contribute. But obviously, just to iterate, we obviously know we have problems in our network. The team is actively working on them. We're trying to get these fixes out as quick as possible, but as stable as possible so we don't deploy broken code. So I really appreciate your patience, and thank you for being a part of the journey to mainnet. And once again, if you want to know what the team is up to, please visit our roadmap on our website and get a really good idea about what type of work is being done by the team. I think that's it. So I don't know what time zone you are in, but we are in Eastern time zone. So it is Friday afternoon. So happy Friday, everybody. Have a good day.